Welcome to all here in the session of mathematics. In previous episode already we have been discussed the exercise 12a and 12b, that is scalar product between the two vectors, vector addition, vector subtraction, and all the problems of the exercise 12a and 12b already we have been discussed in the previous episode. In today's episode we will discuss the vector product between the two vectors, that is the exercise 12c from the chapter vector algebra. Okay, so let us start with the vector product between the two vectors, that is a vector and b vector. Let a vector and b vector are two non-zero vectors or non-parallel vectors, that is they are inclined each other at an angle, suppose theta. You see, this one is the angle between the two vectors, this one is a vector and this one is b vector. This point is O, OA is a vector and OB suppose represented as b vector, and the angle between them is theta. Okay, the unit vector perpendicular to the plane containing OA vector and OB vector is this one. Okay, that's why that is called n cap. So the vector product between the two vectors a vector and b vector can be denoted by a vector cross b vector, which is equal to a vector magnitude, b vector magnitude, sine theta, theta is the angle between the two vectors, and n cap. N cap is the unit vector which is perpendicular to the plane containing OA vector, that is a vector and b vector. That means if the two vectors, likewise this plane, suppose this plane contains a vector and b vector, and this one is the perpendicular to this plane, that means this one is the unit vector. Suppose this one is a unit vector perpendicular to the plane containing a vector and b vector. So n cap is here unit vector perpendicular to the plane containing a vector and b vector. Thus you can write a note, thus a vector cross b vector is also perpendicular to the vector a vector and as well as b vector. Why? Since a cross b is in the direction of n cap, n cap is perpendicular to the plane containing a vector and b vectors, that's why a cross b is always perpendicular to the vector a vector as well as b vector. Suppose you have to ask what is the unit vector? Unit vector perpendicular to the vector a vector and b vector. That means you have to ask the unit vector of a cross b. All of you know that unit vector of a is equal to how much? That vector by magnitude of that vector, isn't it? So you have to ask unit vector perpendicular to both the vectors a and b. Which one is that vector? That vector is a cross b, that is a cross product b. So therefore you have to find unit vector of this. That means that vector by, according to this formula, that vector by magnitude of that vector. So a cross b magnitude. Okay, so this one is the formula to find unit vector perpendicular to the vectors a vector and b vector. If a vector given, b vector given, you have to find first what is the value of a cross b and magnitude of a cross b. Then if you will divide, then you can find the unit vector perpendicular to the vectors a vector and b vector. A problem so exercise achi, that's why I am telling. Okay, now next note. Suppose you have to ask what is the angle between the or sine angle between the two vectors a vector and b vector. If you will take a vector cross b vector magnitude, then what will happen? That is a vector magnitude, b vector magnitude, and sine theta magnitude is sine theta and n cap magnitude is 1. So therefore that implies sine theta is equal to how much? Sine theta is equal to a cross b by a vector cross b vector magnitude by a vector magnitude b vector magnitude. This is the formula to find the sine angle between the two vectors A vector and B vector if two vectors are given. And this is the formula to find the unit vector which is perpendicular to both the vectors A vector and B vector. Now we will find the cross product, vector product between the unit vector I cap, j cap and k cap. I cap, j cap, k cap are the unit vectors along the coordinate axis. That's why they are mutually perpendicular to each other. So what about I cross I? Next note. That means I vector magnitude into angle between them is sine 0. Sine 0 is 0. So into n cap. So total is 0. So I cross I is 0 is equal to j cross j is equal to k cross k, isn't it? Suppose you have to ask I cross j. That means magnitude of I cap, magnitude of j cap, and the angle between I and j mutually perpendicular. That's why 90 degree. So sine 90, sine pi by 2 into n cap. N cap is the unit vector perpendicular to I and j, and now we have perpendicular to I and j. Suppose this one is the I cap and this one is the j cap, this one is the k cap. That is k cap is perpendicular to I cap and j cap. That's why k cap is the unit vector perpendicular to both I cap and j cap. That's why here you can write in place of n cap you can write k cap. That's why I cap modulus is 1, j cap modulus is 1. Since they are unit vectors, sine pi by 2 is 1, 1 into 1 into 1, 1. So we have left with k cap. That's why I cross j is equal to k. Likewise, j cross k is equal to I, and likewise k cross I is equal to j. If you will take in a circular way, then if this one I cap, this one is j cap, and this one is k cap. I cross j is equal to k, k cross I is equal to j, j cross k is equal to I. If you will take reverse order, j cross I, if you will take j cross I, then this one is minus k cap, or k cross j, k cross j, likewise. Okay, then you will get minus I cap, and if you will take I cross k, that is minus j cap. The vector product is distributive. How is it? That is A cross B plus C, that is vector product over the vector addition, can be written as A cross B plus A cross C. So using these properties you can find, suppose the A vector can be written as A1 I cap component vectors, that is A2 j cap plus A3 k cap, and B vector is equal to B1 I cap plus B2 j cap plus B3 k cap. Suppose you have to ask to find A cross B is equal to how much? That means this one cross this one, that is A1 I cap plus A2 j cap plus A3 k cap cross B1 I cap, B2 j cap plus B3 k cap. Now I cross I is 0, j cross j is 0, k cross k is 0. Now we have left with I cross j. I cross j is equal to k. I cross k is equal to how much? That is minus j. So likewise if you will find, then it will happen I into, that means this one can be written as in the determinant form. How is it? That is I cap, j cap, k cap, A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3. If you will multiply, also you will get I whole into A2, B3 minus A3, B2 minus j cap whole into A3 B1 minus A1 B3 plus k cap whole into A1 B2 minus A2 B1. That's why this cross product or vector product between the two vectors, if they are given some I cap, some j cap, some k cap, then these can be evaluated by determinant. What is that? I cap, j cap, k cap, a1, a2, a3, b1, b2, b3 are the third row, and this one is the second row, and this one is the first row. This vector that is denoted by a vector cross b vector, or vector product of a cross b. So now I will take some question. Exercise 12C number 2. Then a vector given 2i cap plus j cap, b vector given minus i cap plus 3j cap plus k cap, c vector given i cap plus 2j cap plus 5k cap. Suppose you have to ask bit 1 c cross a. That means this one can be written as I cap, j cap, k cap. First, the components of c vector component, ith component is 1, jth component is 2, kth component is 5. And b vector, a vector, the components of a vectors are ith component, that is 2, jth component, that is 1, kth component is not there, that means 0. Now you can find yourself. This is nothing but the I cap whole into 0 minus 5 minus j cap whole into 0, 1 into 0, 0 minus 10 plus k cap whole into 1 minus 4. So that is minus 5 I cap plus 10 j cap minus 4 k cap. So likewise you can find cross product of any two vectors, that is with the help of the determinant formula. Okay. So now I will take another example. So make it a note first. Suppose given a vector given, b vector given, and c vector given, you have to ask what is the cross product or vector product between a minus b vector and c minus a vector. So first we have to find a vector minus b vector. Simply 2i cap plus j cap minus b vector means minus minus plus I cap minus 3j cap minus k cap. That is nothing but the 3 I cap minus 2 j cap and minus k cap. Okay. So now you have to find c vector minus a vector. That is nothing but the c vector is I cap plus 2 j cap plus 5 k cap minus a vector means minus 2i cap minus j cap. That is I minus 2i minus I cap, 2j minus j, that is j cap plus 5 k cap. Now we have to find a vector minus b vector cross product with c vector minus a vector. That is nothing but the determinant of component vectors. So a minus b is how much? Ith component 3. First you have to write I cap, j cap and k cap. Ith component is 3, jth component is minus 2, kth component is minus 1. And c minus a is minus 1, and this one is 1, this one is 5. So this is nothing but the I whole into minus 10, I whole into minus 10 and minus minus 1, minus 10 plus 1, minus 10 minus minus 1, that is plus 1. Now minus j whole into, that is 15 minus 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 1, that is minus 1. 15 minus into minus 1, that is plus 1. 15 minus 1 plus k whole into, that is 3 minus minus plus, that is 2. So this is nothing but the minus 9 I cap, 15 minus 1, that is minus 14 j cap, and 3 minus 2, that is 1 k cap plus k cap. That's your answer. Okay. So easily you can evaluate cross product or vector product between the two vectors with the help of the determinant. Okay. Now I will take number 3 problems. So make it a note first. Now I will take number 3, that is he is asking find the unit vector perpendicular to both the vectors 2i cap minus 3j cap plus k cap and minus I cap plus 2j cap minus k cap. You have to find the unit vector perpendicular to these two vectors. So given a vector is equal to this much and b vector is equal to this much, or given, or you can write late, because a is equal to this much and b is equal to this much, your supposition. Okay. That's why first you have to find what is A cross B, because all of you know that the unit vector perpendicular to A vector and B vector is A cross B by A cross B magnitude. First you have to find the cross product between the two vectors, then their magnitude also you have to find. So first you have to find A cross B, that is with the help of the determinant, that is I cap, j cap, k cap. Component, ith component is 2, jth component is minus 3, kth component is 1. Ith component is minus 1 in the B vector and jth component is 2 and kth component is minus 1. Now you can find the determinant, that is I whole into minus 3 into minus 1, that is 3, minus 2, then minus j whole into 2 into minus 1, minus 2, minus 1, that is plus 1, plus k whole into 2 to j, 4 minus 3. Okay, so likewise you can evaluate, that is 3 minus 2, 1, that is I cap, minus plus j cap, that is plus k cap. Okay, all of you know that A cross B is equal to determinant of I, j, k, A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3. So with the help of the determinant you can find the A cross B. Now we have to find the magnitude of this. Magnitude of this is ith component square, jth component square plus kth component square, that is 1 square, root over 1, 1, 1, that is root 3. Now the unit vector, you can write unit vector perpendicular to both the vectors, A vector and B vector is A cross B vector by their magnitude, isn't it? Unit vector means this vector by magnitude of that vector. So and this one A cross B is perpendicular to A vector and B vector, all of you know. So A cross B just we have found, that is I cap plus j cap plus k cap by magnitude already we have found, that is root 3. This is nothing but the 1 by root 3 I cap plus 1 by root 3 j cap plus 1 by root 3 k cap. So this is the very important question for 4 marks. So make it a note. Now we'll go to the number 4. Okay, so make it a note. Suppose you have to ask what is the sine of the angle of the two vectors, that is A vector is equal to I cap minus 3j cap plus k cap and B vector is equal to I cap plus j cap plus k cap. So all of you know that sine theta, if theta is the angle between the two vectors, then sine theta is equal to A cross B, magnitude of that divided by A vector magnitude, B vector magnitude. With the help of this formula, now we can evaluate the sine theta or sine of the angle between the two vectors. So first you have to find what is A cross B. So A cross B can be evaluated with the help of the determinant, that is I cap, j cap, k cap, and ith component of A is 1, minus 3, 1, and ith component of B is 1, 1, 1. So you can find, that is I whole into minus 3 minus 1 minus j whole into 1 minus 1, that is 1 minus 1 plus k whole into 1 minus 3, that is plus 3. This is nothing but the minus 4 I cap, this one is 0, and plus 4 k cap. Okay, now you have to find the magnitude of this A cross B magnitude. Magnitude is nothing but the ith component square, jth component is not there, kth component square, whole root over, that is 16 plus 16, 32, 16 into 2, that is 4 root 2. Okay, now we have to find magnitude of A vector as well as B vector. So magnitude of A vector is 1 square minus 3 square plus 1 square root over, that is nothing but the 1, 9, 1, 10, 1, 11, root 11. And B vector magnitude is nothing but the 1 square plus 1 square plus 1 square, isn't it? Ith component square, jth component square, kth component square root over, that is root 3. Now if theta be the angle between, you can write here, if theta be the angle between a vector and b vector, then we get sin theta is equal to a cross b, magnitude of this divided by a vector magnitude and b vector magnitude. So a cross b magnitude just we have found, that is 4 root 2 whole divided by a vector magnitude is root 11 into root 3, that is nothing but the 4 2 by 11 into 3 33. So that's your answer. Okay, so likewise you can find sine of angle between the two vectors whose components are given. Suppose a vector is given, b vector is given. First you have to find a cross b with the help of the determinant, then a cross b magnitude, then a vector magnitude, b vector magnitude, then with the help of sin theta is equal to a cross b magnitude by a vector magnitude, b vector magnitude, you can find the sin theta, that is sine angle between the two vectors. Okay, so make it a note. So that's all for the today's session. In the next episode we will do rest of the problem of the exercise 12C of the chapter vector algebra. Okay, so until then, goodbye. Thank you.